Definitely a miracle. Eagles were the better team. I can't say it any other way.
I don't really think everybody knows what they're about to witness.
I know talent when I see one. I should be an NFL scout.
Jonathan, I don't like that pick. I love that pick.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorm Debate podcast. And this episode is our instant reaction to the Chiefs and Bills game. We got back about a couple hours ago. We had some barbecue, watched the Cowboys-Eagles game, had some time to collect our thoughts. It was a very, very interesting game, to say the least. There were a lot of good defensive plays, offensive plays, but as you all know, the main play was a offsides call by the refs on a touchdown that was thrown to Travis Kelce, then pitched all the way to Kadarius Toney, who ran it in, and the refs just broke our hearts and said that Kadarius Toney was lined offsides, which we couldn't see. They weren't showing a lot of the replay, but looking back on Twitter, we all saw that he was offsides, unfortunately, but you could see Patrick Mahomes super upset about it. Even in a press conference, he said that you just don't call that. Like, usually they get a warning, I guess, for offsides, and there was no warning. So let's talk about that first. I mean, we'll get to the stadium later, but as far as that play, it was so exciting. We thought we saw history, one of the greatest plays of all time. Yeah. And it's a play that Kansas City does quite frequently. I mean, you've seen Travis Kelce pitch the ball to other receivers. But in that scenario where it's under 2 minutes, they have 2 timeouts, they're down 3 points. They only really need a field goal taken overtime. Kelce takes that chance and paid off and went into the end zone. Unfortunately, with the penalty, doesn't pay off. But anybody want to start and say, like, what were your thoughts during that whole play when it went down?
Yeah. So first of all, the refs stole that game from the Chiefs because of that play. When I saw that play, yes, Travis Kelce's always open. He caught that pass, and then all of a sudden I see him turn to the left and throwing the ball. I was like, oh gosh, hopefully it's not, he's not going to fumble this ball. But Kadarius Toney was right there, and as soon as he caught the ball, he was wide open. And Kadarius Toney's really fast, so he ran up the field and went to go score. But in terms of the offsides, I think that was kind of a low blow. Like, that didn't impact the play at all. It was like, a few inches past the ball. I mean, Andy Reid said they usually get a warning, right, if something like that happens, because that doesn't really impact the play. Like, that was one of the greatest plays of all time, potentially. Mm-hmm. And we witnessed it. I was so pumped. We were so excited, high-fiving random people we don't know. Like, that was amazing. That was a great feeling. I'm not surprised for Patrick Mahomes being upset, because that's annoying. Like, and it's tough to come back from that, because they're all frustrated. Like, man, that was like, how can we outdo that, right? And so, that was very bogus on the refs' part. And I was telling these guys, I wish I was on that side where the refs were going back to the locker room. I would have had my popcorn and my water bottles and thrown at them. They ruined a great game.
That's illegal.
Nobody's gonna. I'm sure the security people are doing it too.
We saw the refs go out in the tunnel, and we were looking at them, and there were a lot of stuff thrown at them. There was a lot of boos, a lot of refuse suck. Everybody was upset, and it felt like, even though it was only second or third down after that penalty was called, it just, like, everyone was just so shocked. We didn't even care.
Made it 3rd and 15.
Yeah, like, we were just like, oh, that's it.
Took the air out of the tire.
Yeah.
And you never see Patrick Mahomes like that animated.
No, I never see him get like that. And he was chewing out held back really bad. Yeah. And it was funny because when I was watching the play, and I don't usually, like, I guess, like,
we were on the 50-yard line.
We were almost right on it. But when they lined up, I saw Toney next to the tackle, and I couldn't see where his foot was, but I'm like, he looks a little bit, and usually I don't, like, notice everything. But for this play in particular, I was like, he looks like, because they were set for like a full 10 seconds before they snapped it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, he looks like he's far ahead, but we weren't directly on the line, so I couldn't see exactly where his foot was. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then when Kelsey caught it, I was like, oh, wow, he's down to the 10. And then he pitches it to Tony and scores. I was celebrating just with you guys. Like, I thought it was a touchdown. Then when I saw the flag, I'm like, oh, wait, was Tony actually ahead? And on the replay, his foot, if your foot's like 12 inches, he was probably half a foot, so like 6 inches. It was by the rule, it was the right call.
Yeah,
but like Andy Reid said, usually if something like that happens, the refs will be like, oh, they'll let it go and be like, oh, just so you know, it's minor, really but just so you know, make sure tell your guys to line up right the next time. Otherwise, I'm going to call it. So that's what they should have done.
It's the NFL. It's not Pee Wee. Pee Wee, I got called for that.
Right, and that's what Mahomes was mad about because that got taken away, and it could have been a great game after that. We've seen these two teams score like 25 points in the last 2 minutes of the game.
Like that.
Yeah, they would have had probably like a minute 20.
Yeah, Bills would have had a minute 20, 3 timeouts, and they would have needed a touchdown. They would have been down by 4. But if they did get that touchdown, then Chiefs could go down, get a field goal. And so it's like we could have seen a great ending to the game. And not to say that the game came down to that. Yes, that was the thing. But Rashee Rice fumbled. Mahomes threw an interception. So like, there were other things the Chiefs could have done, but it sucks that it was such a good play that we saw and it got taken back.
Yeah. And, I'm wearing an Eagles hat right now, but when we got to see Mahomes' press conference after, and it was like, I don't want to, not to say I told you so, but the same arguments was what the Eagles felt. Like, kind of what you're saying is I just want to see football be played out by football. Like, let the teams play and decide. Because what people said in the Super Bowl was like, yes, it was a penalty. It is a penalty with Tony, even with the interference. But it's like, the bigger problem in the NFL that we talked about after the Bengals Rams is like on almost every play in the NFL you can find something, and like what's not being talked about is the way the accountability of the refs to call ticky-tack plays as we know them colloquially. Like we know, they do get a warning, it is a thing, but it doesn't impact the game. Same with like left tackles. A lot of times this season have been kind of starting off a lot. So I thought it was Lane Johnson got a lot of it. There's a couple left tackles specifically. I don't know what's going on there. But sometimes it's a warning, sometimes they crack down on it. But it's just the overall game is kind of rigged from the start, if you think about it, in the way that these plays can exist throughout the whole, these kind of penalties can exist throughout the whole game, be warnings and sometimes called, sometimes not. And in the end, in the final 2 minutes, there's always something that might be ticky-tack called. Mm-hmm. So you got to find something, because the argument is like, yeah, Tony was offsides. Like, it's Pee Wee, like he should know better. But the nuance is like, let him play. Like, I'd rather have seen, it was a great play, and it sucked to have it taken away because it was a cool moment to see and experience, and the wherewithal of Kelsey. I know you said it's a play they do, but in the moment, it's like in triple coverage. And if it's a design play, that's great. If they just have experience, the chemistry to like know, like, oh, it's coming to me, like that. We were joking, like in Madden, that's when you accidentally hit the pitch button.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, and throws it in the direction of Swift. And Tony's there. Like the penalty doesn't make a difference. It is a penalty. Like he was on. There's no debate that he wasn't across the line. Mm-hmm. It's just the overall gist of what's stopping these refs. Like, there's got to be a way to see. Like, they got to go into the camera and like see what every real penalty was in the game everywhere, and then see like how consistently were they calling that throughout the whole game. Were they forgiving throughout, or was it in the final 2 minutes where they like, oh, they called something and it changed the game? Because then maybe you look at the body of the work, and then the teams can understand like, oh, this is how they're calling it. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no, maybe internally there's a way, but as far as fans, it's like a couple huge games with big implications. We're talking about 2 Super Bowls, and this one's important for implications later. But just the rules of the referees still calling the right plays hasn't changed. So it's like, are we going to get to another Super Bowl where it's going to be a shootout? It's going to be fun. Let them at least see who's the best, and then it be determined by a ticky-tack play. And if I'm the other team, I'm always going to take that. I'm going to think that people will never deny it.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, if say Josh Allen, if they score a touchdown and then they see, oh my God, he was offsides. Josh Allen still has a minute 20 to go down the field, right? And potentially score and do whatever. So I feel like if he's thinking, oh, you're giving me the ball, I'm gonna go score as a player and a competitor. He's like, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, home team. If it benefits your team, it's a rule. You take it.
Yeah, I mean, aside from the penalty in that play, let's talk about yet again the Chiefs in the same scenario they've been in a lot this whole season, which has been, you're down by 3, you're down by a touchdown, you're what, under 2 minutes, you have a drive, and receivers screw it up. And this
some
game,
way or another.
it was like the whole game. I mean, they didn't use Rashee Rice in the first quarter at all. Then they started using him. He then fumbles. Then you have Kadarius Toney, who dropped a couple passes that we saw in the first half, and then he lines up off sides. And you're looking at Mahomes, and you're just like, man, what more does he have to do? And we saw multiple drops by other players, Watson, and
he got more, Valdez Scantling.
Right, I mean, he puts it on the money, and they're dropping them. And I guess it comes back to, are the receivers going to be the reason that they don't win the Super Bowl? I mean, they're losing games because of these receivers now. How are we just going to fix this when playoffs come?
Yeah, no, it's going to be difficult. That's the thing. And that's why people don't necessarily trust the Chiefs that much this year, is because that offense isn't fully clicking late in the game. Everybody thinks that, the Chiefs are just going to come back, and they have been able to. But this season, like you said, the receivers haven't been there. So come time for the playoffs, that's going to be something that everybody's looking at.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs were expecting Scott Moore to step up this year. He was looking like, during training camp, he was looking like a receiver one. They were making plays for him and everything, but he's not been able to get open, and he's been dropping passes, and he hasn't been what they've expected. So I mean, it's probably too late to get a receiver, but like at this point, they're desperate for somebody that can, can get open in the deep, can have breakaway speed, kind of like Antonio Brown. These guys are costing the game. Okay. Kadarius Toney, I mean, honestly, he has some splashes of greatness, but like he's made too much mistakes to give him too many chances. Honestly, if he was on a better team and they had better receivers, you wouldn't see the field again. That's how you think.
Do you think it's like the receivers coach?
Yeah, we need to see who that is. I don't know.
We need to start looking into this.
Yeah, because Travis Kelce, trainer. Hey, when your tight end is the best receiver on the team, then the receivers have an issue.
Yeah,
Sky Moore, step up. Kadarius Toney, stop making stupid mistakes.
No little mistakes.
Rashee Rice, he's shown a lot of promise. I mean, other than the fumble today, Rashee Rice, he was a star at SMU, right? Yeah, he's a star receiver. I think they need to keep on feeding him the ball. He's
probably like when he came out of the tunnel.
Oh my God! Everybody around us was like, "Give it to Rashee! Give it to Rashee!" Really constantly just saying, "Give it to Rashee!"
And you've seen those flashes in broadcast too, but it was cool to see that reflected in the crowd. Like they do agree that we've seen him play. Like despite the fumble, but that's every receiver at some point might make a mistake like
that. Jonathan, you were saying during the game, like there were a lot of screen passes on both sides, but a lot of questionable calls from the Chiefs. Felt like they weren't really taking advantage of certain possessions. Yeah. And, we've been going back and forth this whole season saying, was Eric Bieniemy a big part of this offense? Maybe it wasn't all Andy Reid. Bieniemy had a lot to do with this offense. And I don't know if it's a coincidence that Bieniemy leaves and now we're having these questions of, why is this offense not clicking? What's going on with this offense? Yeah. Why are there so many question marks? And the plays don't look like a normal Chiefs offense.
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things. Number one, the plays. A lot of people get confused. Andy Reid, he helps develop some offensive plays at this juncture.
Fourth down stuff.
Yeah. But he gives a lot of autonomy to the offensive coordinators. And that's what you saw with Eric Bieniemy. He was doing great with the Chiefs. The Chiefs always found people open through the Eagles Super Bowl. There was always somebody open. They know how to design those plays. This year, you've seen a lot of questionable play calls from Matt Nagy. Even today, we saw like a hitch, and like there's clearly somebody right next to the receiver, but Mahomes still threw it because that's the play he got.
There were plays where all four receivers, two on each side, all of them ran 3-yard slants, and it's like the defense, and Mahomes is just like.
Well, you saw the safeties being up all the time for the defense.
Yeah, that was really interesting. John, you and John noticed that the safeties almost looked like they were in the linebacker position.
Well, because the Chiefs weren't taking any shots.
Yeah, they were not even concerned about a deep shot.
What you're saying, Jonathan, is who they got as a deep threat. Really?
But I don't know, send somebody on a deep route, even if they're not
right. But that's the problem. Yeah,
Valdez Scantling is
a self-fulfilling issue.
Yeah, the Bills know that, so they they weren't too much about the deep. But the second thing about Eric Bieniemy, like he brings that toughness. If things like this happen throughout the season, he would be chewing out these guys and yelling at them. He's that tough coach.
Matt Nagy's not.
Matt Nagy's he's more. I don't think he is. I don't think he's not. He's not like that. Eric Bieniemy was comfortable chewing people out, and they don't have that. So they don't have a tough coach like that in terms of offensive coordinator. Along with the fact that Eric Bieniemy he's just talented, and we took him for granted. on the Chiefs. Chiefs.
Yeah, when's the last time we saw Mahomes with like a 4 or 5 touchdown game?
It's been a while.
I can't remember this season Mahomes ever it being like, oh wow, yep, that's what. Yeah, Mahomes is the best. I can't remember.
Yeah, if you have a tough coach like that, you get scared to make mistakes like that. They're not. Kadarius Toney's not going to be offsides like that. Like make stupid mistakes. Yeah. Airbnb would chew him out if he makes a simple, small mistake. He's going to be so cautious of the next thing he does. That's why having a tough coach is great. And so I don't think they have that in Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy, he thinks the Chiefs, they're great. I don't have to be tough on them. They're already great. No, Bieniemy didn't care. You better perform at a high level at all times, or else you're going to be replaced or you're going to get chewed out. And so Bieniemy brought a lot to the table that the Chiefs really miss right now.
But yeah, because I was asking you guys, like, what's changed since last year? Because the receiver issues, like, yeah, they drafted and tried to fix it, but like not much. Really, it's Mahomes to Kelsey, and that's fundamentally the true. And then Jones on the defense, but like they still won the Super Bowl without. And a lot of the rookies did show up, but they still run it without that deep threat, without that star receiver. Mm-hmm. But the only thing major that's changed, other than a lot of players, the rosters do change a little bit, but fundamentally, you got without Bieniemy. So it's like maybe Bieniemy was finding a way to put these, at least keep the deep threat honest, and they were hurting without Pacheco. But talking about like how good Mahomes is always a factor where as long as he's playing and healthy, like anything can happen with the Chiefs. You never want to rule against him, Brady-esque in that sense, and it's a respect factor. But honestly, like watching the game, I thought Allen was like Herculean, and just the stuff. It was fun to watch how he could escape and the moves and some of the passes. Like it's almost like Mahomes of 2 or 3 years ago. But we haven't seen a lot of that side of Mahomes because he doesn't scramble quite as much for yards, but like he can do it.
He still extends the plays, but then he throws a great ball and the receivers can't get to it, or they run different routes he's just not on the same page as. I think he had the best connection with Kelsey today. Kelsey and him seemed like they were on the same page.
He threw a couple short balls though, Mahomes, which was really strange.
Yeah.
Like a couple, like 4 or 5 that were just too short. Like I know he did take a lot of pressure. I don't know what the numbers would say, but it seemed like in the first half, he was under pressure a little more than Allen was for some. Just my eye test,
Yeah. For the Bills side right now, they came off a bye. They win. John, you always say teams that come off a bye, they always win.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's tough to play teams off a bye. What was the team that had to play the 49ers off a bye? Was it the Eagles? It's just tough to play a team off the bye. And so Bills coming off a bye, 7-6 now. They go back home to play the Cowboys, who just beat the Eagles. So that's going to be a really good game because it means a lot for both teams.
Yeah, for the Bills right now, they're still out of playoffs. Still out of playoffs. Yeah. But as far as this game goes, the defense stepped up. And I think the rushing game with James Cook. Yeah. Wow. The first half, James Cook, I think he probably averaged 5 or 6 yards a carry.
Oh, yeah. And he had a bunch of receptions, too. Mm-hmm. So all 4 games since they changed the offensive coordinator, he has 100 yards or more.
Oh, yeah. He's improved.
Receiving plus rushing.
He's good. And I've said this, we've talked about it even without recording, but just like how much that Bills offense depends on Allen's passing is because he can do it. He can extend the play, do those special passes, but they had a run game. Oh, boy. And you got to see a little bit of that. But it's still true is like what you were saying, Jared, is the Bills kind of play down to the level of their competition. So part of that is kind of makes sense. The Chiefs kind of average around 20, 14, they're not scoring a huge amount, but they still managed to pull away with the win.
Yeah, they were, I believe, so Bills were up, I think 14-0. And they could have, I think it was around 1:30 left in the second quarter. And it was like 3rd and 10 or 12. And Josh Allen's scrambling out. And he could have just, taken a sack. They could have punted it, pinned him at the 10 or the 5, and then maybe we'll just went into halftime up 14-0. Instead, he tries to roll out and throw across his body and gets intercepted, and the Chiefs go down and get a touchdown or a field goal or something. So instead of going up 14-0, it was 14-7. It's like those little things are Josh Allen-esque. That's why they play down to to their opponent. Like they could have easily blown this game out or kept a good lead or good separation. But he just does those things where you're like, that's just boneheaded moves.
A little too much hero ball, as they say.
Yeah, it's like he was feeling himself too much. And the interception, he's like, all right, I'm back. Yeah, that brought me back down to earth. I'm okay.
I'm used to this.
But you got to teach him, and a little bit of it is coaching. Is like tell him, hey, all right, 3rd down. Here's the play call. If anything, throw it away, take a sack. Do not try or force anything. You're up 14.
Well, there was that specific moment about clock management where they ran it. I think it was towards the end of the game where it's almost like if the Bills lose,
oh my God, those pissed me off.
Coaching. Because what is it? They could have very easily
2 minutes and 12 seconds left, and the Chiefs had 2 timeouts left. And they throw an incompletion, and then another incompletion. That was 2 minutes and 6 seconds. Chiefs didn't have to burn any timeouts. You're not even at the 2 minute.
Then another
warning.
pass.
And then it was another pass.
Yeah.
They did complete it, but then the 2 minute warning brought it down to 1:57.
Yeah.
So then the Chiefs got it back with plenty of time.
Yeah.
They were just. It was basically just. Had they run it once, they would have forced the timeout 3 times, and like they were just giving Mahomes time. They're very fortunate from the coaching decision. Whoever made that decision that they won the game, or else this would be a big talking point of time management. And it's hard in the moment.
McDermott,
if he's the one doing it, like I hate to put people under the bus, but it was frustrating. Even like I was like, we all picked the Chiefs, but I was kind of on the fence, indifferent to who won. But I'm a fan, and I'm in the game, so I'm not on the broadcast. We get all the info, right? And like nice UI. I'm like, what are you doing? Even the people next to us were like, you're just giving Mahomes time in Arrowhead. What's going on?
Yeah, everyone's like, we'll take it.
They went away from the run. Yeah. I don't know why they went away from the run in the second half till the very end.
Yeah,
when it was working
it's like
well.
They love close games. They love being in close games.
It's like Allen has to get that interception. The coaches have to let them come back. And it's like, oh, we gotta adjust. And
they're lucky they won. They're lucky. I mean, they definitely played better than the Chiefs.
It was Tony,
but
it's Tony that gave. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the stadium. Yesterday we took a tour, and there was nobody in the stands. We got to go on the field. We got to go and get ourselves acclimated to everything. And then today happened, and the parking lots were full. Tailgating was at an all-time high. As Caleb said, there was smoke in the air from the barbecue.
Yeah.
It was awesome. We got to interview people, talk about the tailgate, talk about Arrowhead itself during the game, the chop, the decibel level. I mean, it was a packed house today. It was truly the Bills Chiefs, even though I think the Chiefs always beat them in the playoffs. When it comes regular season, I mean, this is as good of a rivalry as any in the last 5 years. So let's talk about the stadium. So, John, you were tailgating around talking to people. I mean, I feel like the vibe was amazing compared to SoFi, which there's no tailgating, which you did last year.
Better than nothing.
Yeah, no, it was a great experience overall. Good. And one thing I want to say too is when we were on the way to the stadium, we kind of stopped and got something to eat, got a little coffee or something. And the great thing about Kansas City and what I noticed, and I think you guys did too, about everybody in the area, in the Kansas City area, everybody's wearing Chiefs stuff. And not only on Sundays, but on Sundays, like we were in kind of like a grocery store, and like everybody I walked past had like some Chiefs thing on. And they just have such passion for this team, which is great. I don't know really what else there is around here. I wish we had more time to spend and maybe see what the city was like. But there's a lot of passion, and we saw that at the tailgate. So a lot of people that we talked to had the passion that we were expecting. But getting into the stadium, it was as loud as I thought it was going to be. It was really loud, and it was really cool because it's the third oldest stadium, and that design, how it's so steep, keeping that sound in and making it so loud is. I don't think that's allowed anymore. So they're kind of grandfathered in because it's such an old stadium. So we'll see what they do when they renovate it. But it was just a really cool experience, passionate fans, and very loud.
Yeah. Like everywhere you go, you see not only people wearing Chiefs attire, but like you see different stores and different like places of business have like Patrick Mahomes or Kelsey or somebody there, right? They're very passionate about the Chiefs here, respectively. So because they're really good right now. So it makes sense. But I was really impressed because like every defensive play, it seemed like the crowd was so loud. How it usually is on third down, or usually in other stadiums when people try to be loud.
That's true.
The Chiefs are like that on like every single defensive play, which is awesome. Right, It's so loud, and so that was amazing. I guess maybe that's because of how this stadium is structured, but I think everybody in the stadium is just passionate about the game at all times, right? Mm-hmm. So that was what I liked about the stadium. But yeah, like I enjoyed being with other Chiefs people. I think a lot of them they're not stressed. They don't care too much like Giants fans and other people. They don't have much to say because at this point they won a couple Super Bowls, right? They Even after the loss, people just walked away. They're like, okay, you didn't hear anybody cussing. We're like, dang it, nobody cared.
You're not desperate.
The only people that were making noise at the end were the Bills fans because they were surprised to win.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think going from Giants, Cowboys, and it was like 90% Cowboys in MetLife. So it was like, eh. And then SoFi, obviously, it's always the away team that's louder. So it's like 2 home games that we've gone to, and it just hasn't felt like a home atmosphere. And this one was just a huge jump, and it's like, holy crap. I mean, they play The Chop, obviously, the Red Kingdom song by Tech Nine, or whatever his name is. I think it's Tech Nine. Yeah, overall, I love it. I mean, on third down, everyone's pumping. Yeah. They get a sack, they're bumping. They start doing the chop every time there's a punt, that's when they do the chop, which I learned. And on the kickoff, they have the drum.
Yeah, it seems like there's tradition in the Chiefs.
Tradition, that's what I was kind of looking for.
It's a long-running franchise, so you do feel that, Yeah. Versus some of the issues. I mean, like SoFi is still a great. Like I recommend people visit it because it is really a marvel to look at. Mm-hmm. But then you see, and just a shared stadium and a new franchise location. Just like I never want to disrespect someone's like. There's beauty in each part that like football brings people together. So like there's that nostalgia that everyone has with their stadium, no matter all its flaws or strengths. There's always a give and take. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I agree. Like everything like that. Were you going to add more or?
No.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was cool too. Like just like Jonathan, you pointed out, like every time the opposing offense was on the field, it was getting loud in there, and I think it just riled up the crowd even more. It's a common football quarterback move, but anytime Allen gestured towards his ears, like the quarterbacks do that and the receivers do it, I think he's got the crowd even more into it. Yeah. So a crowd that got involved it's just fun to be around. And I'll say even for the game, I mean you get that Midwest passionate fan base, but everyone was real nice. Even you guys were in Chiefs jerseys, but the Bills Mafia that showed up, who did show up, were always like, yeah, it's a competition. We're playing, it's against each other, but y'all been real nice to us. It's been a nice area, and so it's cool to see that. I don't know if you get that same feeling in Philly, but to see that I thought was nice. On top of like their competitors, so the fact that when we did the tour, the away team has the narrow sidelines, like these little things that impact football operations that kind of gives you an insight once you're there, because maybe most of our games we watch are just on our couch, broadcast, and you see the numbers of why teams do so much better when it's a home game. Once you're there, you do see how much of an advantage there is in the intangibles of what makes football, because really all the rules are the same, the plays are the same, but it's just the little things like where you leave and enter the stadium and how they treat you in equipment. It was cool to see that, as well as, of course, probably the most important is the fans. So I thought it was really good. What surprised me was how many people were there, and yet I felt the hallways were, like, if you call them hallways, concourses, whatever, were not as packed as I thought they would be.
Mm-hmm. And they said in the tour that they extended it.
Yeah.
So
and they couldn't add seats without they didn't want to break the structure, so they just made it wider. Mm-hmm. So I did really appreciate that. Like it was just. Still crowded, don't get me wrong, but like I just remember some other stadium experiences where you're like shoulder to shoulder and it's okay, we got to in and out, let's get out of here. Yeah. We'll say though the food was good, very good.
Oh,
very expensive.
Food was very good.
Paying like $20-$30 for a drink and a sandwich. Yeah. I got to say. So prices could be friendlier, but was good barbecue.
Yep. So. Yeah. I had a brisket and cheddar sandwich. It was delectable. It was so good. Yeah. Ate that right as kickoff started.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing better than having barbecue and watching football.
And having a hot chocolate too.
Come on. Yeah. Oh, it's just amazing.
I ate Chef Jay's, so that was good. Thank you.
Did you have the beef and cheddar?
I had the brisket sandwich.
The brisket, yeah. So overall,
okay.
Now that we're wrapping up everything, SoFi or Arrowhead, which one did you like more? Which game did you like more? So which stadium did you like and which game did you like more?
I'd say Arrowhead for both. I liked both. The game better. I think the game was better, and the stadium and experience was better.
I 100% agree. Like, I can't go back now.
Yeah, no, I'm not going back to SoFi.
You're not going back to SoFi.
Yeah, I don't want to be in a stadium where everybody, like, the fans are quiet. They don't care too much. This like the passion, the tradition they have is unique.
It's all about the passion.
I think the game was just, and this is outside of our control, but the game was better for the Chiefs Bills. Came down to the wire. I don't think the Chiefs ever led, sadly, but it was like a tie. They came back from nothing and tied, and
So I think the game was better, and I add that because I think that the fan element makes the game, like how intensely they were into it. But like if I were recommending to someone who wasn't as passionate about football to like go visit a stadium, I'd recommend SoFi. Whereas someone who likes the history of the NFL, likes that environment, like likes a good game, but like if they're more football into it, I'd probably say Lamar Hunt's stadium, the history.
Which one did you like better?
For what I liked better, I just love. See, I did like because when we went to SoFi, they had the art gallery or whatever, and like I did like it was one of my not my first time in LA, but one of the first it was a new building. I don't know. I think I liked SoFi better, but I liked
futuristic.
I think I did because the engineering part of me, and I thought it was just so cool. Like it's a marvel to look at. I recommend a normal fans of football or people, but I think I liked I think I liked SoFi better, but I enjoyed this one more.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, with you guys, it's all fun. It's. I don't think it's fair to compare which one was better. I enjoy each day as it comes.
We when we were looking at this game, like John and I were like, oh, which game should we go to? And it's like, I think for this one, after going to SoFi, it was like we need to go to one that's like all about the fans, all about the tradition.
And that messaging I liked. Yes.
Yeah, the tailgate and the people. And I think for next year, when we're looking at games, I think we do the same. I think we look more for which has the best environment, which will I think that's what we had. We had what will give us the best game with the best environment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the environment, if the environment's great or top tier, then the game is like it feeds into that. Like it kind of rolls over into the game. Like the game today wasn't as statistically better than the Chargers,
no, it was about the same.
Dolphins, but we were so much more into it. It was a close game. The third downs were way more hype. That obviously the chop on third downs or fourth downs and kickoffs, and you just felt different, even though it's only 17-17 or 20-17 instead of 27 and 28 and 35. Even though it was a higher scoring game in the Chargers Dolphins, it was way more exciting with all the fans and with that tradition and just looking around and the outdoor stadium, the embracing the cold with everybody. It's just it was so fun. So I think for next year,
everyone was on their feet. We forget to mention that.
Oh my gosh, nobody sat down.
Nobody sat down
for the whole game. Everybody was standing. Maybe for timeouts, for media timeouts, you sit down.
2 minutes though at a
time.
The
whole game, whole game, everybody's on their feet. I'd never seen anything like that.
It was the expectation. It wasn't like we were in a section that was like, oh, the guy in front is just not sitting. Everyone else has to stand. Like it was around the whole stadium.
I was like, I guess they don't sit here.
Yeah, kind of like SoFi. I mean, SoFi, like we were more like spectators. Everybody's like spectators.
Yeah, we're just chilling,
seeing the performance. Here we actually were part of the experience.
Yeah, yes.
But in some ways, I like that about SoFi. But it's each their own.
So for next year, where are we thinking? If you're thinking environment and a good game, what teams come to mind?
I mean, Arrowhead, Philly. That probably would have been a good game, right?
Yeah.
So I would say Arrowhead, Philly. Other teams in the NFL, I mean, Seattle, if they can get better,
also,
maybe.
I mean, the Buffalo is a good fan base.
Buffalo does.
The stadium is
want to go there,
stadium
but the fan
sucks.
base is
They're getting a new
good.
stadium in a few years.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that.
But does the stadium matter?
I know the fan base.
The
is
stadium
probably...
sucks, and the tailgating is great, but it's a different vibe than the Chiefs because it's more of that blue collar, Bills, Western New York.
Because Bills Mafia really they were everywhere. I think Arrowhead
they showed out,
dominated by the Chiefs.
They had a blue wall, literally a blue wall of fans right at the 50-yard line and going down.
Like, don't get it twisted. It's Chiefs territory, but like Bills Mafia travels well, so that would be a good one to visit.
Yeah. Okay, so Philly.
What about Lambeau?
Eagles.
I think Lambeau's another historic. Lambeau Leap. You mean like that's historic?
Lambeau's good. I want to see Love though the rest of the year and stuff because I want to see a good game.
If it was like
we're just
Love
environment
and
or
Chiefs,
games that
then
might
you go.
Games that might be
probably.
Good. I don't know. Then we're getting into the realm of like what game will be good next year.
Right.
There's a lot of questionable quarterback situations.
Yeah, but I think we did a good job with getting a great game and good environment. I think this was the best of both worlds.
It was quite fun.
But yeah, I think that'll wrap everything up unless anyone has to say anything else.
Leave in the comments if you have any ideas, questions. Well, probably ideas for what. I mean, we can answer questions sometimes, but
Yeah, and we'll
Leave in the comments.
make sure you follow us over on Instagram and on TikTok at Dormy Podcast. We have a ton more content. We already posted, if you're already following on Instagram and on TikTok, a bunch of our clips and our reaction. Caleb actually filmed our reaction to the Travis Kelce pitch and touchdown for Tony. We were all so hype, and you guys should really go check that out. It was insane. I'm still thinking about it right now. It's gutting.
You were in
It
shock
hurts.
the whole drive.
Yeah, it sucks. My
quiet.
jaw was dropped the whole time. But yeah, go check that out, and we appreciate you guys for watching and listening. And as always, we will see you guys next week.